you for coming. It is August 12th, 2021, 6 o'clock p.m., and I will call the meeting of the Joint Facilities Advisory Committee to order. We have a full agenda tonight, but before we start, I'm just going to move item 3 is an enrollment and design capacity discussion. That's pretty meaty, and our first construction management firm will be arriving at 6:15. So I think we should wait until those presentations to start that discussion because it's a discussion that deserves some time. So our first order of business right now is the approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. I'll start with the June 10th minutes. If anyone who was at the June 10th meeting would like to make a motion, I think you two were at that meeting. It's the one that Victoria chaired.
Yeah, I was there, yeah,
Zoom
so I'll make
meeting.
a motion to approve the minutes.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Right, all in favor? I will abstain, I was not there. And any opposed? All right, great. And then our next set of minutes, which were so beautifully done by Lisa Eastland from our July, what meeting was that? July 8th meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion for the July 8th minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Christine. Any discussion?
I'll second it.
And a second, thank you, John. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes carried. Excellent. So here in just a few moments, we will have representatives from Ekman Construction Firm. We met with 3 firms earlier in the week, and we have 2 coming this evening to present to you all. So they will be here at 6:15. Oh, and I see Brad has joined us from Banwell as well. Hi, Brad. So before they arrive, we could go ahead and do, I'm mixing up the agenda here a little bit, but let's do some quick subcommittee updates. From the PR subcommittee, we have our second update, which we posted to the JFAC Facebook page, and we'll be going out in a nixle to all of those folks who have subscribed through the JFAC website and on voting day and various emails that we've picked up along the way, and parents. And that update is really just kind of telling folks exactly where we are in the process, which is this hiring of the construction manager, site civil engineer, and kind of what to look for and what to expect. And we are going to resume. We had put a pause on our regular meetings until we had kind of more information. So we're going to resume our meetings next week. So Stephanie, I know that you 2.0 is kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern on some things, but if you could just maybe give us a little bit of what.
Sure, I emailed with Roger a little bit because I know he's been very busy. But I know the lockers have been ordered and going to be installed on some break.
Okay.
When time is available. He's talked with Lance and trying to get costs and some more details so we can go through the drawings to talk about the secure entrance and the timing of getting that together. And we're still working on the science labs.
All right. Thank you. Awesome. Any finance updates, Amy, that you'd like to share?
Yeah, sure. So we are working with a financial advisor, PFM, out of Providence, and they are going to be running some numbers for us based for potential types of financing. So public sale, private sale, municipal bond bank, and they're even going to look at USDA. So they're going to run those numbers and let us know what would make the most financial sense based on interest rates and other variables. So they have a lot of our information and are going to be getting back to us with those numbers.
Question, where's the money coming for that?
For them, so they are being very gracious and based on the person I'm working with was recommended by someone who I believe Adam knew. So
Our bond counsel.
yeah.
Okay,
So they are willing to put the work in for us and not charge us at this point. So
I would suggest when the money does come, do we split it between the 2 school systems? Is this is a joint facilities?
Yeah, when we do the Sohegan 2.0 project, absolutely, that will come from the Sohegan School District.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Indeed.
For this work, the borrower is the Amherst School District.
You're right.
Thank you. So we have about 7 odd minutes. So I think if we could actually move our other business or school board updates up on the agenda, because I think those are quick. I know, John, you had some things you wanted to share.
Yeah, as I've been selected to represent this board to the planning board and to the historic commission. However, they seem to be in turmoil right now, and they are discussing whether they're going to go Vile or still go Zoom. So they're still communicating that, but there's talked to Nikki Stone, and she says, well, maybe you can come to a meeting. And those, the planning board, I believe, is probably scheduled for the 19th of this month, and the historic commission the day after. So I can't do any presentation to those people till I talk to the architect and get a set of plans for me, especially for the Wilkins School, so I can show them what we're talking about, unless they can give me a presentation.
Can you sit back up here when you present, or where do you want the CMs to sit?
That's good.
That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other business? All right.
They're getting hooked up
Yeah,
outside
we'll
there.
just hang tight, yep. So Ekman, I hope everyone had a chance to review the materials. I know it's a lot, which was impressive. I feel like the level of detail that all of the firms put into their proposal is great. But I know it was a lot, but I hope it was helpful to preparing for tonight. So Ekman is out of Bedford, so very close by.
I'm trying to remember, I think someone that did part of the middle school, right? Or was it one of them in there?
Excuse me, guys, can you hear me? We lost the sound on my end.
Yeah, we're paused.
Understood.
Okay. So I would like to take a motion to seal the minutes of our non-public, as some of the discussion could impact reputation.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Second, great. Roll call.
Yes.
Oscar, yes.
Gasper, Gascoigne, yes?
Eastland, yes.
Reason, yes. Run, yes.
Aye.
Great. So we've just interviewed construction management firms, and I would like to entertain a motion to make a recommendation to the Amherst School Board that they hire DEW construction firm for the projects in the Amherst School District.
Second.
There we go. Got the
Yes.
motion and the
Motion
second.
from
Simultaneous.
From Lisa, the second from John, and if we could call a roll call vote.
No need for a roll call unless you want to.
Oh.
Yeah, we're all here.
Okay,
We have to, so.
we still have to vote.
Yeah. okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
It could be an
we'll just
aye or a
roll call.
not.
Yeah.
An enthusiastic yes.
Even though I have no dog in the fight, it's going through yes.
Gascoigne, yes.
Eastland, yes. Reason, yes. Run, yes.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we will recommend to the Amherst School Board at their next
That's a tough
meeting.
way.
Great, thank you. All right, so our final agenda item, and I know that it is late, but this is huge and will impact the designs. Amy has done a lot of work, and other folks in the administration regarding enrollment and enrollment projections and design capacity. So how we're designing our buildings and what enrollment we're designing them for. She's put together a presentation for us tonight. Yes. And Brad is here as well. He has been working with her. Thank you, Brad, for your patience and hanging in there with us tonight.
No problem.
Do I get screen sharing?
You should.
Tell him who we picked.
He was on for it.
He's on board.
Any questions?
Oh, there it is. Okay. Where is it? Okay. All right. So. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
There you go.
There
There
it
we
is.
go.
Okay. So just some backdrop. I don't remember when it was. A few weeks ago, Brad sent over some information on the enrollment projections that Daniel was using to determine the design capacity. So when I saw that, I was struck that this was old information, and that we should really take a second look at our enrollment projections and where we are currently, what we're projecting based on the work that Steve Frady's has done for the district, comparing that to the current design, and then take a look at some alternatives to make sure that we are not underbuilding and are not overbuilding. So this first slide basically breaks down all that information. I'm just looking at the elementary. I also have taken pre-K out just to make things simpler. So if we look at FY21, we'll see enrollment, and these are actual numbers, was 765. We had a variety of classrooms, and those are the class sizes that we achieved for FY21. If we jump ahead and take a look at the projections that we have, looking at the latest years that we have, it's Steve Frady's projected out to FY26. So if you look at those enrollment numbers, they are higher, but not by a huge amount. But we want to, we just want to take a look at that in terms of the number of classrooms that are being projected for either looking at 8 classrooms or looking at 7 classrooms and what that would do to class size. So that's the FY26 projections. The next set of numbers is based on the current design. Oh, no, can you hear me?
Oh,
Oh, okay. Is based on the current design using the max class size that the Amherst School Board has indicated and using 8 classrooms. So that's what Banwell has, that's the current designs that we have right now. That's what the building
You mean like
designed for.
that is existing today, or
That is-
the design
That's
of?
the design.
Okay,
Yeah, so the design is, those are the projected enrollment numbers were we to build to 8 classrooms
okay.
and achieving the class size that, the max class size set up by the Amherst School District. So we met with the principals, we met with senior leadership, and, you know, when we saw the enrollment number, we thought we probably ought to take a look at this, because we, as I said, we don't want to overbuild, but we don't want to underbuild. So we came up with a couple of scenarios, and I'll move to the next slide, but just so you can see where we got the numbers. We based both scenarios on a max class size that the Amherst School District has indicated. But in one scenario, both scenarios, we have 7 classrooms. One scenario, we are including the 3 flex spaces. We thought maybe we would call them project-based learning spaces. We can talk about whether that's a good name or not, but they were originally called flex spaces. So we added 3 flex spaces or classrooms for the first scenario and 1 for the second. So you'll see at the bottom the enrollment figures, and then that 63 is 3 flex spaces or project-based learning multiplied by an average class size of 21. So that increased the total enrollment to 952 for the first scenario. And in the second scenario, we based it off of 1 project-based learning classroom. So our max or our total enrollment design capacity is 910.
Say again?
910. So, any questions on this so far? So slide 2. This is an analysis for us to take a look at differences in square footage and potential cost savings. So the first line is the current design based on max class size, 8 rooms, 3 project-based learning rooms for a total of 51 rooms. The design capacity, including the project-based learning rooms, is 1079. We talked about the design capacity for the core spaces and decided that it really behooved us to keep that number the same for all. If we ever had to expand, then that's not something we would want to do. If we had to expand later, we would want to just look at adding on classroom space. So in looking at the 2 scenarios, scenario 1, again, is based on max class size, but 7 rooms per grade, 3 project-based learning rooms for a total of 45 rooms. So we're building to a design capacity of 952, a core design of 1079. The square footage difference between the current design and the scenario 1 is 7,710, which if you use a order of magnitude estimate of 350 per square foot, and obviously we would have to make adjustments to that, we would save about $2.7 million.
350 square foot is an all-in number, including soft costs and design fees, not the equivalent of the.
I was gonna say, you said 260, 280.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. So scenario 2 is obviously smaller. So again, it's based on max class size, 7 rooms per grade, 1 project-based learning room for a total of 43 rooms, a lower design capacity of 910, same core design capacity, and a square footage difference of 10,280 for a cost saving of about 3.6 million. So those were the discussions that we had with principals. Wanted to bring it to you folks to digest and discuss.
What exactly is a project-based learning room and how would it work?
So those are the flex rooms. that Banwell had designed. And I'm gonna punt it to Brad. Can you hear me, Brad?
I can.
Okay.
So project-based learning rooms can have a couple of functions, but in the short term, where you have 1 or 3 of these rooms available, they can be used as breakout instructional spaces, to be used as for students to literally work on projects, maybe between different classrooms, or individual instructions as needed to larger groups of kids than 6, but as big as 25. And typically, we like to place these rooms and use them as flexible space for class bubbles, class grade bubbles, so that usually you place them between 2 grades. So if you end up with a year with extra kids in, say, the kindergarten, you don't have to shove them all into 7 classrooms, but you actually have this flexible space to be able to take some overflow into an extra classroom on a year-to-year basis.
So it's room to grow if we had to, but you can use it for other things
You
if
can
you
use it
don't.
for other things,
Got
but
it.
if we have
Okay.
bubble years, then it saves us.
Okay.
They also offer a certain amount of flexibility, not just with class bubbles, but also special education needs. So you might find that there's a developing program in the coming short term that wasn't anticipated, where you might need some large therapy type spaces that are classroom size, and they can be extremely helpful for the unknowns when it comes to special education.
So allow us to maybe tuition in special education if we have more space to be able to accept out of district placements. Because we have a program that's well reverted.
Or to add enrichment program, right? Like it could
Yeah.
be, like, it's, so the,
Enrollment, I was looking at your enrollment projection.
Yeah, so we, initially, when I saw the larger design capacity, I thought, ooh, we need to pay attention to that because it looks high.
Yeah.
So let's revisit it. Let's, whatever we decide to do, we need to think carefully and move forward and have all of these numbers so that, the community feels that we've gone through this analysis, whatever we end up deciding.
So just because I'm trying to read the numbers from here, the existing is
That's FY 21.
765.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are actuals.
The FY 26 projection is 819.
Those are Frady's numbers for FY 26.
Okay. And that's what we think. That's what we're kind of looking at.
Yeah.
So
Potentially, those will
1,079
probably
is
be
cheap.
updated in October.
yeah, like I think if you look back historically, and I'm having trouble pulling up the sheet real quick, but I mean, peak, like within the last 20 years, up to like 832 maybe. It's between like
Yeah.
830 and 860. I don't want to throw out a number because I'm having trouble pulling it up.
Patricia said his
I
latest
think we need to
number
look
was
back
to
at that.
add 85 just this year.
Yeah, and I think Steve's taken into account, like, if the projected housing developments get built, what that's going to add in terms of,
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to have an update in October.
yeah, because there's a lot of
Because there's
changes
been
going
some
on with
changes,
this
yeah.
planning.
yes.
We have about 100 more kids
Yeah.
registered right now than we did a
84.
year ago.
When I was doing a grade by grade comparison, his numbers were actually coming in a bit low based on what we knew was and projected to come in talking to the principals.
Are principals comfortable with option 1 or 2 on the next slide?
Principals want option 1 because they want more space to be
That's
safe.
what I,
Taxpayers want option 4, which is
zero
Keep it
cost.
small.
six classes per grade.
So I think-
all of that.
I mean, I'm comfortable to say the current design is too big and
Right.
let's not even, like, that's
Yeah.
pie in the sky and too much. Yeah, like maybe option 1 is more middle ground between those two numbers, the 819 and the 1079.
The caveat is we're making sure that Brad's including in the design, the ability to add on these classrooms
Right.
and maintain that the core capacity of the building is ready for those additional classrooms. So that's still the plan.
So I can't see very well.
I
Glasses
found
aren't
it in
working. The
On
cost
the
of
bigger
it
screen.
column on 1 and 2, what is that, 2 and, oh, yeah, okay, great. Can you move there? Thank you. Can you move to the cost savings column there real quick?
Well, and then
Cost savings.
you
Uh,
could do
what?
it,
Right.
In this, yeah, where you are,
Oh.
but just to the
you
right.
really could do an option 2 as 2 flex spaces and option 3 would be 1. So you could even break it out 1 more.
Yeah, Amy almost put an additional option on here, but we said to keep it.
I did. And we can do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, this is just like filling in a row on it. But you could get one that's like 930 students and it's gonna save us whatever, right at 3 million, right at 3 million.
Just to point out, this building, the minute it got done, was already too small.
Right, that's
Right.
And that is the one thing that I don't want to go through this whole exercise, and then day one, I'm already
Like, God
cramming
dang
too
it.
many kids into the new classroom.
right.
I need to have, I just do.
Right. I'm with you, but I do agree with Lisa. I think the 1079 is excessive overflow.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate Amy going through this exercise, because that's too much.
Yeah,
So
no,
the question,
I'm fine with
in my mind, the question that we're looking at tonight as a subcommittee of board is, which one of these two options, 2 and 3, do we want to recommend? So 952 or 910 and 7, they're both 7 classrooms, right? Yeah, both of those options are 7, so we're taking one away and the administrators feel comfortable with the 7. Okay, and then so really the question is really the flex classrooms, the PBLs. So do we have the 3
I think one is
and no,
definitely
we
not
can build
enough.
on? Okay.
My personal opinion, that is just
That
not
would
buying
be
hardly anything. Yeah.
Brad, can you add any color to the 3 project-based learning rooms versus 1?
Well, there's a couple of advantages to going with the 3. One is it sort of averages out to 1 PBL room or flex room for every 2 grades, right? So you would, in terms of physical placement, you would want to place these between grade pods or right at the edge of each grade pod if possible. That gives you a maximum flexibility in terms of arrangement if you go with 3 instead of 1. Secondly, with 3, I think it gives you a little more flexibility for growth without having to do a building addition, which might be considered painful by some in the community if it were to happen shortly after the completion of this project a few years from now. It's probably worth mentioning as a footnote that as a common theme from communities in southern New Hampshire, what we're hearing is we have to sort of think about development in addition to birth rates in New Hampshire, because there's a lot of migration north from our southern neighbors, and that's not always captured in the enrollment analysis, because the enrollment analysis typically centers mostly upon birth rates in New Hampshire. It doesn't always capture that migration trend and development trends that are happening in town.
Thank you.
So, with so much contingency in the project at this stage, and probably when we go to the ballot, there's gonna be a number, $6 or $7 million worth of contingency between design, CM, and us. It does no good to our taxpayers to return $7 million. To be transparent, it doesn't, because they get a huge windfall. When you get that $7 million back, the tax rate drops and it goes right back, goes boomerangs right back. A good way to manage these projects is to say we have a list of things that are add alternates for the project, where we say, if we are able to add on 2 classrooms and do it right as part of the regular construction, it'll never be cheaper to do it during that mobilization, same bidders, all that sort of stuff. We can have that list of things where we're ready to be flexible. Another thing would be, when we did the Wyndham Kindergarten, one of those things was we piped everything to be able to add air conditioning. So all we had to do if we had money left over was drop the chiller on the roof. Everything was ready to go. Well, lo and behold, we saved money. We dropped the chiller on, they got air conditioning, So we'll have like a list of things that we can say along the way, that we can adjust the project as it goes. Not that we're not gonna try to give money back, Shannon, I hear,
I hear you, I don't love it.
Or like, drop 7 million on the principal and be like, save money. I don't know if you can pay back bonds like that.
my point is, we have that, we can do
Yes.
that or we cannot do that.
Right.
But just because we set a path now doesn't mean we can't adjust as we
I
go down the
see.
line. Meaning, like, if we find 100 people moving, 100 kids move to town because they see we're building a new school, well, if we know that along the way and we've got some path built into the project that we can adjust on the fly, I'd have to ask for another bond. That's kind of my point, is that there's
Right.
flexibility.
So we would be asking for a little bit more than we think to possibly cover some of that list.
We're always gonna ask for more than we think it's gonna actually cost because of unknown things.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's a hard limit, you know, there's not $1 more that we are legally allowed. So we're always gonna say the high number.
But does that look like it's already in the project?
Yeah, it is.
Stephanie.
Well, let me ask just a design question. So we're talking basic classrooms. We also know that there's intervention space. We know that there might be space that, I don't know, like Karen or Bannock, you know, teaching them math, you know, that sort of extra intervention space. You're gonna have all the specialized space. Are there extra, not gonna say extra, but is there space there that could also be PBL class space? Like, so there's flexible, like, you might not need it, but you're building it out because you might. So I'm just trying to find out, do we have extra elsewhere as well?
I would say, looking at the preliminary design, I would say no. So frankly, if Amy hadn't brought this up, I probably would have missed it, which is that we're building the building too big right from the start. And then a deliberative session, when someone says, well, how many students do you have and how many are you building for? It'd be like,
Oh, God.
dang it, you know? So I really give Amy a lot of credit for that. Is there other square footage we could shave off, have a more of a bare bones building? Absolutely.
I don't want to go bare,
I know,
I'm just
I
saying,
know.
like, is there space that could be used as PBL because you're building that extra specialized classroom because.
I mean, you can
You
do what you're
design
doing
it.
now for people on PERTs, but is that what you want to do?
Oh, no,
I
no, I'm
think
not
that-
saying,
I know
that's
what
why
you're
I'm like
saying. I know what
asking.
Stephanie's saying.
I'm doing the
Yeah,
opposite
no,
of what
it's
you're
a
saying.
good question.
Yeah.
So my answer is, I don't think so.
Okay.
And I think what we're doing is also preserving, if we need to add a couple of extra classrooms in non-smaller, more project-based learning spaces. We're providing flexibility in the design.
Mhm.
Because as Shannon said from the beginning, the last thing we want to do is build it and then have it be too small. That's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
All right, I like option one.
Right down the middle.
Did you
Yep.
want?
I'm sorry. What? I like option one. That's what I voted for.
I was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, so.
Brings you right back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right in the human.
So do we need to take a vote on this? Is this a discussion or are you just trying to get a pulse
You can-
for?
This committee could certainly make a recommendation to the board as well. We
Yeah.
reviewed the
Yeah.
enrollment numbers, we
Yeah.
reviewed the design implications and cost. Here's our recommendation to the board, same as picking a CM.
Okay.
But it's up to you, you don't have to.
No, it's everyone's first time seeing it. So I want to make sure that everyone feels, if we're gonna call a vote, I want to make sure that everybody feels. like they're
Projection for
informed.
FY '26 was 819. 819.
So
And
it's
you're going to
still-
950, so that's where
it's
you're
still
gonna get,
130
we're gonna
kids
get
over.
her. If you say 957, I think you're gonna get her in public. That's the concern,
People
because
feel
people
that.
will not care about that
Good
that
point.
flexible space.
Right, but I,
Do we have to do anything before October?
But we're talking, his projection is 5 years out, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not I think
Right.
it's also important to look back historically to peak what our housing inventory, where we've peaked in this town.
Honestly, Stephanie,
Where we've had all those portables,
I
right?
think projections are low. I think
think
that,
they're low.
yep, and going through the principles and looking, I
That,
think they
that's,
are.
if we can,
I can't get them updated
Yeah.
until October.
So to
You know
John's
what
point,
the high school's gone up, right?
well,
so to John's
Do
point,
you?
they'll make a recommendation to you.
From
get
what
updated enrollment.
right, right.
what
And-
day to what day did it go up?
When is, I mean, and who
It
knows
went
what's
up
going on.
15 in
planning
one
board.
day.
So when you get more
I mean,
neighborhoods,
it
you're
did-
going to get
it
more
did-
children.
It's grown.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And we
that's
know
the job
where
you feel that
we
That's what-
have is what my point is.
That's
Yeah.
what mine-
I feel like that
Yeah.
has to be a part of.
Yeah.
Of the dialogue.
And you gotta look at the housing situation that's going on in this
Oh,
town.
yeah,
But
that's why I'm trying to.
They're selling
understand
houses for $1 million
projection.
bucks, and they're bringing in 4 kids.
And honestly, I mean, what you could do also is, I included the project-based learning, but if we know that we have use for that space, we don't actually have to include the 63 students in there.
Oh, that's good. I was gonna say, this would drop the average number down.
Now we're at 889.
Are we planning
Well, you
that?
could expand to 950.
Yep, right. So we could show a range, or we could just show.
So you could say that
Yes.
we're building it to a capacity of 889.
Unless they're working.
In a pinch, we could accommodate an extra 63 kids.
Yep.
Yes.
That's not the design we're building towards.
That.
You
Because
like
that's what I was
Yes.
thinking about, is like,
That's
what
we want to look at how many
Say that again.
products are in each classroom. Like if every kid had to go to a home room,
Right.
we wouldn't automatically include that flex space as a home room
Right.
unless we needed it. So it's not, it doesn't make sense to include
We
them.
don't have an extra
In the
63
number.
kids. We're not saying there's an extra 63 kids. We're just saying there's room.
Yep,
So they're gonna
Yeah, we
become
can
design
design
classrooms.
So if we
For-
do
In
a
that,
pinch.
then this is what it looks like.
If the enrollment does go up, now you have the 3 classrooms to add the 63 kids. But I think showing it that way is a
Yep.
better
Yes.
story to get the 3
Yes.
PBLs.
Done.
So is there any consideration in any of this about, whatever the class size is that we're planning for social distancing, if anything comes up in the future? Because I know we physically can't do it, but if we have those spaces.
I
can we
eventually
bring
want
it
to
up?
do
Well,
it.
then, exactly.
I mean, is that
Right.
something that we think about? No, I mean, because I don't know. I don't
I
know what
know.
superintendents are talking about or what others,
Right.
like, is that something you think about, Adam? Like for the
I mean, it
future,
would-
could that
it
happen
would
again in
provide
3
that
years?
Additional
That would-
space, certainly if you had if you were
Like, so
social
we could
distancing.
continue to be in person and
Yeah.
still have enough room for social distancing, because we don't now. We cannot possibly do it.
Here's the other thing, that congressional bill includes universal 3 and 4-year-old preschool.
Yes, I saw that.
Say that again.
The human, I don't know what to call it. I'm trying to be,
Infrastructure.
thank you, Brad.
So what is it? Infrastructure?
I'm more cautious lately than normal. I don't know why. The human infrastructure bill that's going through Congress and that was passed by the Senate, I don't know how it's gonna end up, but it includes universal 3 and 4-year-old preschool.
And that's required in every district.
4-year-old.
If they pass that.
Preschool.
Oh,
Adds 2 grade levels to our school system, which to me means, just a rough sketch would mean you take preschool out of this building and put it all back over at Clark, and that becomes our universal preschool facility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanna
So we're building to
reconsider.
4 pre-K classes.
Alright.
And
So-
Neg is,
That's
So,
Neg is
correct me if I'm
absolutely.
wrong, are we looking at the building 850?
I think we were looking at
We're
the
looking at the
889,
option,
building
yeah.
a building that could house
Say what?
889.
889.
I get 900 for it, but
With the 3 flex classes, which then could boost it to 952.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was the option.
Yeah.
Okay.
889.
I'm still at option 1.
Are we-
Option one.
Option one,
agree.
option one. Stephanie, you like the option one with the 889?
What, I'm
Yes,
sorry?
the option one.
Yes,
889,
with the
889.
3
Yes.
flex spaces, yes.
good.
Yep.
Okay.
But we should wait till October to make a final.
Yeah, I'm not
decision.
gonna call, I'm not gonna
Okay.
call, I feel like we need.
Don't sharpen your pencil
some
yet.
time, But I think, but
don't
we
draw
need,
anything
I
yet,
feel like
Brad.
we need that, no, we need we need some estimates, we need to start taking this out, this show on the road in
Yeah.
September. And we
Yeah.
need to have this short up a little bit, so I feel like we're on the way.
Absolutely.
And you'll have better numbers in September. It won't be the exact
Right.
daily average student number or whatever it is, what it's called.
Right, we can say that we just went up in our SAU 100 kids this year. I mean, that alone should put the fear of God into you, right? But
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen every year probably, but.
But on the flip side, we've had that same conversation of, well, when people are like, the budget should be lower, well, we lost 100 kids. Okay, but when you spread them out amongst X grades, 100 kids means nothing. So to say, well, we're up 100 kids, like, we can't flip the argument and make it
Right.
the other way too.
No, that's fair.
Side note, I think we actually should be monitoring that preschool situation, because that will need to be, that's the other last thing we want to do is build preschool classrooms in a new building, only to find out we need to keep preschool somewhere else because we can't accommodate all of them.
Right, and also have a flood.
Well, and I don't disagree with that, Adam, but it is worth pointing out that preschool classrooms are larger than the normal classroom, so they add quite a bit of flexibility to the building. So that if you use those as your PBL classrooms, you know, or you need more social distancing, they do offer that opportunity. They can also be used as kindergarten.
That's actually an interesting question. So I know this doesn't include pre-K.
Right.
The building currently that's being built is including pre-K. And if this universal program works and we end up using Clark as all preschool, this is going to need to be shrunk.
It's another 4 classrooms. It's another $2 million.
When would we know that? Like,
It's going
Senate
through,
passed?
it's going through Congress now.
How long does that take? That
Well,
vote?
Yeah, but that's-
There's even more we don't know, which is,
Right.
does that mean every parent gets a voucher to pick their own preschool
Right,
provider? I mean, we,
Right, we have
I just-
to, or do we just have to provide?
I always like to think a couple steps down the road, and I don't want to be in a situation where, shoot, no, we just gave the preschool away to some, you know, the Clark away, and now.
Never need it.
Now we need it.
So is that a decision that's within our time frame? We were talking like 3 years to make a decision with Clark,
I would imagine.
We should
it
know.
so that we would know.
won't be another year until we know, probably, unfortunately. My guess.
All right, well, it is 8:49, so I would love to
Good job,
adjourn the
Pam.
meeting. We do have our first public forum scheduled for September 23rd. And I'm looking to see when our next Joint Fact meeting is, and I'm not putting my fingers on it, but we'll send an email out.
Because the SAU mobile site is the fix.
Yeah. All right, so I will
Biggest
adjourn the
screen.
meeting at 8:50. Thank you very much.
All right.
See you.